Ever get that feeling like the universe is trying to tell you something? You know, like when you keep running into the same person over and over, or like a song from your past just suddenly pops up everywhere?
Yeah.
Well, today we're diving into a book that tackles this head on. It's Coincidence by Robert Anton Wilson. This book takes these strange events, these coincidences, and just flips them inside out.
Oh, interesting.
So get ready, because we're going on a mind-bending exploration of hidden patterns, and who knows, we might even get a little peek into a deeper order of the universe.
I love that.
So what's the deal with this coincidence thing anyway?
Well, Wilson starts with a great quote by James Thurber, and it goes, "The more wrath hasn't been born that can outgrade me."
Whoa, okay. That's a mouthful. What's a wrath?
It's, I think it's like a mythical creature or something. But the point is, it's this playful idea that these coincidences, they can really catch us off guard.
Like the universe is messing with us.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's pulling a fast one.
Uh-huh. I like that. Okay, so where does Wilson go from there?
Well, you got to remember that Wilson was a bit of a contrarian, you could say. He called himself an anarchist and agnostic.
Oh, so he's not afraid to challenge conventional thinking.
Oh, not at all.
Oh.
And that really comes through in how he approaches these mysteries.
So how does he start unraveling all these cosmic threads?
Well, he starts by looking at James Joyce, the literary giant behind Finnegan's Wake. And what's really fascinating is that Joyce, he was completely obsessed with synchronicity.
Oh, wow.
He absolutely believed that even seemingly unconnected events, they could hold a much deeper meaning when you look at them all woven together.
Okay, so we've got Joyce and his, love for these hidden connections. What's an example of that in his work?
Okay, well, there's this really intriguing story about how Joyce was trying to find the perfect name for his main character in Finnegan's Wake. He just couldn't land on anything.
Right.
Then, totally out of the blue, while he's traveling, he comes across this tombstone in Sidlesham, England.
Okay.
And guess what name is etched on that stone?
Oh, I don't know. Spill the beans.
Earwicker.
No way.
Yes. And that chance encounter, bam, it becomes the name of his main character. And it's not just a name. It gets woven into the very themes of the novel.
So it's not just a random name pulled out of thin air.
Nope. There's meaning baked right in.
Okay, so what kind of meaning?
Well, earwicker, right. Phonetically, it resembles, get this, Here Comes Everybody.
Oh, yeah, I kind of see it.
Which actually connects to a popular Irish ballad.
Yeah.
And the ballad's about resurrection.
So life, death, rebirth, that whole cycle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That idea of a cycle, well, it resonates with the whole cyclical nature of Finnegan's Wake itself, where death, it's not an ending, it's a new beginning.
Wow. That is an incredible connection. It makes you think about the power of names and how they can echo through history and literature.
It's really something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So it's not just about names, though, right? What else did Wilson find in Joyce's work?
You're right. There's more to it. Throughout Joyce's work, he uses these recurring motifs, like paired opposites. For instance, you have Earwicker, and then you have Percy Riley.
Okay, so two sides of the same coin kind of thing.
Yeah, you could say that. These pairings, they're all about the struggle between, conscious and unconscious, light and dark, all that, creation and destruction even.
So this constant interplay between these opposing forces, it's a pretty deep concept, but I guess that's Joyce in a nutshell.
He was a complex guy, that's for sure.
So I know Wilson also dives into something a little more, shall we say, down to earth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the evolution of a certain word. It's, well, I guess it's okay to say it here. The word motherfucker.
Right. Now, this might be a bit of a surprise, but this word, it's often considered vulgar and offensive, right?
Right.
Well, it actually has roots in ancient matriarchal religions.
Wait, hold on. Are you serious? Motherfucker used to be, a term of respect?
Believe it or not, yes. In those societies, the motherfucker, with the capitals and all, was like a figure of power, reverence even. It represented, the strength and wisdom of the feminine principle.
Wow. Okay, so then how did we go from a powerful figure to a word that's less than polite, let's just say?
Well, as patriarchal societies, became more prominent, that reverence for the feminine principle, it kind of started to diminish, and so the meaning, that original meaning of motherfucker, it got twisted over time. And eventually it became the expletive that we know today.
It's amazing how language can evolve like that and actually reflect these massive cultural shifts,
Yeah, language is a living thing, that's for sure.
And it's kind of a perfect segue into Wilson's exploration of what he calls memory metaphysics.
Oh, yes. This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, so tell me more.
Well, this is where he really dives into this archetype of the great goddess
Yeah.
and, how she shows up in all these different cultures and mythologies.
Right.
And what he suggests is pretty wild. He thinks that the suppression of this archetype, of this, feminine divine, is actually connected to the rise of monotheism. And it's even, connected to how we view female sexuality.
So he's suggesting a link between the suppression of this archetype and, like, the demonization of female sexuality.
That's exactly it. He's definitely not shying away from any controversy here. He's arguing that this suppression has had a deep impact, a profound impact even, on how we understand, gender, power, even spirituality.
It's like he's peeling back these layers of cultural conditioning, trying to reveal a hidden history, one where the feminine divine actually played a central role.
You got it. That's exactly what he's doing.
And it's about seeing things from a completely different perspective, right?
Absolutely.
Challenging all these assumptions we've always held.
Yeah.
So speaking of challenging assumptions, let's shift gears for a second.
Okay.
Let's go back to James Joyce, specifically to his exploration of death and absence in Ulysses.
Ah, yes, Ulysses. This is where Joyce's personal life really intersects with his literary themes. He had this really powerful experience, you see. During his first public reading, he recited this poem about the death of Charles Stewart Parnell.
Charles Stewart Parnell, wasn't he a prominent Irish political figure?
Yeah, that's the one. And so this event, this reading, it might seem random.
Right.
But it actually speaks to this bigger theme of absence that runs throughout Ulysses, particularly with the character of Leopold Bloom.
So it's not just about physical death, but the absence of something, I don't know, more profound, right? Like a void.
You got it. Precisely. Joyce uses Bloom to explore this, growing sense of emptiness, spiritual emptiness that people felt in modern life.
Yeah.
And it reflects what intellectuals at the time were calling the death of God.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's about grappling with this void, this gaping hole that's left behind when those traditional belief systems start to crumble.
So Ulysses is about searching for meaning in a world where all those traditional anchors are gone.
Exactly. You nailed it.
And, that actually ties in really well with what Wilson talks about with the unconscious mind, which he describes as, like, a labyrinth, right?
Oh.
Full of all this hidden meaning and all these symbols.
He even pulls in Carl Jung,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he draws upon Jung's concept of the collective unconscious. Yeah, this idea of this universal storehouse of archetypes and symbols that all humans share.
Yeah, okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting, okay? Wilson suggests that all those strange coincidences that we experience, well, they might be messages from our unconscious.
Wait a minute, hold on. Are you saying that our unconscious mind is like sending us coded messages through these coincidences?
It's a wild thought, isn't it? That all those seemingly random events, well, maybe they're trying to tell us something. Like they're nudging us to pay attention to patterns, to connections we might otherwise miss.
So like whispers from the depths of our being.
Maybe. Like trying to guide us to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe.
My mind is officially blown. I mean, it makes you wonder, what secrets our unconscious might be trying to reveal. So where does Wilson take us from there? How does he connect all this to the big picture?
Okay, well, he sort of weaves through this web of coincidences.
Right.
But, he reminds us he's fascinated by, conspiracy theories and stuff.
Right.
But even when he's exploring these outlandish ideas, he emphasizes that just because things happen together, that doesn't mean one caused the other.
Right. Correlation doesn't equal causation.
That's it. We got to think critically about the information that's out there.
So don't believe everything you read on the internet, especially when it comes to conspiracy theories.
Yeah, exactly. Discernment is key. Especially now when there's just so much information flying around.
Information overload, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And here's a real mind bender for you. Ready?
Hit me.
Wilson's book.
Yeah.
It's full of coincidences, too. Like, he packed them in there on purpose.
Yeah.
It's like he's intentionally blurring these lines between, what's fact and what's fiction. He makes us question what's real.
Whoa. So he's playing with us, too.
He's inviting us to consider a world where all those quote-unquote coincidences, well, they might be a glimpse into something deeper, something more interconnected.
Okay, so the next time I experience a string of these weird events, I shouldn't just brush them off as random chance.
Perhaps not. You never know.
Yeah.
They might be whispers from the universe, little invitations to explore, you know, to see the hidden patterns and connections that tie everything together.
That bind us all.
Exactly.
It's like we're all being asked to like wake up a little bit,
Yeah.
be more aware, more in tune with those subtle nudges. And this whole idea of hidden connections, it really resonates with, how Wilson was so fascinated by James Joyce's writing style.
Joyce was really unique, that's for sure. He wasn't afraid to push the boundaries of language. He really experimented with form, structure. He was weaving together all these narratives and voices in a way that, well, it mirrors those interconnected threads of, synchronicity we were just talking about.
So it's not just the words on the page, it's how those words are used to create like a multi-layered experience for the reader.
Exactly. And Wilson, he saw this as a reflection of how deeply Joyce understood the human psyche. That whole labyrinthine world of the unconscious. And they both believed that language had this power to shape how we see reality, to like unlock these hidden meanings and create experiences that could honestly transform you.
And that brings us to Wilson's own writing style, which is, let's just say, anything but conventional.
Haha, you can say that again?
He blends fact and fiction, philosophy, and even humor to create this mind-bending journey for the reader.
He was like a literary DJ, mixing and remixing all these diverse ideas to create something completely new. And he's inviting you, the reader, to step outside your comfort zone, challenge all your assumptions, and embrace the unexpected.
So he's not just talking about these ideas, he's embodying them in his work.
Right. He's showing us, not just telling us.
And like Joyce, he uses coincidence as this literary device.
Oh, absolutely. They become these threads, woven into the fabric of his narrative. And again, blurring those lines between chance and intention.
It's like he's saying that even the most random events, they can have meaning. That the universe, it might be talking to us through these strange occurrences.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? It opens up so many possibilities.
For sure. And it takes us right back to the archetype of the great goddess, which Wilson explores pretty deeply.
Yeah, he does.
And he suggests that this figure, this ancient figure, she represents a whole way of thinking, right? And that this way of thinking has been suppressed, pushed down in these patriarchal societies.
A way of being, even.
Yeah, a way of seeing the world that embraces, the feminine principle and how that principle is connected to nature, intuition, creativity.
All the things that get pushed aside in a patriarchal system.
So it's not about like worshiping a specific deity. It's more about this worldview.
Exactly. A way of being that's been, sidelined, pushed to the margins.
And he argues that this suppression, it's had a massive impact on how we understand gender roles, power dynamics, even how we relate to nature.
On all of it, our relationship with the natural world, that's a big one.
It's like we've lost touch with this, this fundamental part of ourselves, this ancient wisdom that we've inherited.
And so by looking back at this archetype, by really exploring her presence in these different cultures, these different mythologies, Wilson is inviting us to reclaim that wisdom, to bring back that feminine principle into how we understand the world.
So it's about challenging those deeply ingrained, societal norms.
For sure.
And recognizing the power, the importance of the feminine divine.
And this all ties back to this, larger exploration of consciousness, how we perceive reality, how we interact with it. And Wilson, he suggests that our understanding of the world is shaped by, our own beliefs and assumptions.
Like we see what we expect to see.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's shaped by those cultural narratives that, honestly, most of us just take for granted.
So we need to question those narratives, become aware of, like, the filters that we're using to experience reality.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. And he challenges us to consider that those filters, well, they might actually be limiting us, preventing us from seeing the full spectrum of what's possible.
So how do we break free from those limitations? How do we, expand our awareness and embrace a more, a more holistic view of the world?
Well, Wilson suggests that we need to cultivate a sense of playfulness.
Yeah.
Willingness to experiment with different perspectives and really challenge those assumptions head on.
So it's about approaching the world with that, childlike curiosity and wonder, right? Like we're exploring a whole new playground.
Yeah. Exactly like that. It's about letting go of that need for certainty and, embracing the mystery, the ambiguity of the unknown.
Being okay with not having all the answers.
Yeah, realizing that the journey, that process of discovery, is just as important as the destination.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And it's about recognizing that interconnectedness,
Oh, right.
how these seemingly random events and ideas, they can all be woven together to create this, like, this tapestry of meaning.
Yes. And it's about recognizing that we might be, co-creators of our own reality, that our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions, well, they shape the world around us.
Whoa, that's a powerful idea.
It is, isn't it?
Really empowering. And it invites us to be more, conscious, more intentional with our lives, to pay attention to those like subtle nudges, those whispers from the universe, and to really trust our intuition.
And as we continue this deep dive into coincidence, we're going to keep exploring these themes, unraveling these mysteries of coincidence and how they can really illuminate how we understand ourselves and how we understand the world around us.
So we've talked about a lot. I mean, we've gone from Joyce's obsession with synchronicity to like how language changes over time and, of course, the power of the unconscious mind. But like, what's the answer? Are these coincidences just random things that happen, or is there something more going on?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the thing is, Wilson, he doesn't really give us any easy answers. He kind of leaves us hanging, wants us to keep thinking about these mysteries, encourages us to, to become active participants in our own realities.
It's like he's giving us this map.
Yeah.
And he's like, here you go, here's the terrain, now go explore.
That's a great way to put it. Coincidence. It's not about dogma or like these rigid beliefs. It's more about opening our minds.
Yeah.
Expanding our awareness and realizing that there are all these possibilities, both inside us and in the world around us.
It's like trusting your gut.
Yeah.
Paying attention to those weird little synchronicities and just, letting yourself be surprised by what the universe throws at you.
And don't forget, the more open we are to these connections, to the possibility that they mean something, the more we'll actually start to see them.
Oh, totally. It's like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Right.
But in this case, it's like when we're ready to embrace the mystery of it all, well, then the universe will start showing us its secrets.
Yeah. It's like an invitation to co-create our reality. See the world as this canvas, and we get to paint our own experiences.
So next time you find yourself in the middle of a bunch of coincidences, those weird little events, don't just write them off. Take a second. Think about it. What's the universe trying to tell you? What's hiding in plain sight? What connections are waiting to be discovered?
If you really want to explore these ideas, I highly recommend checking out Robert Anton Wilson's Coincidence.
Yeah, it's full of these amazing examples, and thought-provoking ideas. It'll make you question everything you thought you knew about, well, reality.
And that's a good thing.
It is.
Because when we question things, when we explore, well, that's when we open ourselves up to new possibilities. We become more aware of ourselves and the world around us.
So keep questioning, keep exploring, keep diving deep. Until next time, fellow explorers.